Right beside you, chapter 18. For each dim sum item I chose, Regina and Susan chose two or three apiece. I had never seen women as slim and dainty as these eat two so much and so fast. I ordered tea, they ordered wine and mineral water. We were having a lively conversation, discussing our plans for Christmas and a few other unrelated subjects. However, only 15 minutes later, my level of boredom was almost as high as the ceiling. After 3 cups of green tea, I had to make a beeline for the men's room. "Excuse me, ladies, I'll be back in a few minutes," I said, rising quickly. I glanced at my watch as I trotted across the floor. I returned to the dining area just in time to hear Susan say to Regina, "I like walk through fire in my bare feet to have a man like Richard. He's awesome. I'm glad you decided to claim him again." Those words stopped me in my tracks. I ducked behind the wall facing our table and listened. I'm like surprised he still speaks to you, especially after you dumped him while he was risking his life in the military. Psst. He's too sweet and nice to hold a grudge. In all the years I've known him, I've never seen him get angry or even raise his voice. Do you think he still loves you? I'm sure he does. Then why aren't you two in a more serious relationship than just these casual encounters you keep telling me about? Richard is just being cautious this time. He'll come around eventually. They abruptly stopped talking when I approached the table. "Well, ladies, this was nice, but I need to get back to my office." Regina looked at her watch and gasped. "We have to get going too. Before I go, Richard, I wanted to let you know that every Tuesday they serve those spicy pork pot stickers here that you like so much." "Then I'll have to come back here on a Tuesday," I said casually. I lifted the check off the table. Wing Lou's was not cheap, so the $155 total didn't surprise me. "How much do I owe?" Susan asked. I held up my hand. "Don't worry, this is all on me." "Thanks, Richard," Regina said as she picked her teeth with a toothpick. "You are so sweet." From the corner of my eye, I saw Susan stare at Regina in awe. When we started walking toward the exit, Regina latched onto my arm. Susan was in front of us picking her teeth too. I tapped her on the shoulder. "Do you mind if I speak privately to Regina for a few minutes?" "Sure. Regina, I'll see you back at the office," Susan chirped. "This was a great lunch," she added, looking at me. From the corner of my eye, I saw Susan wink at Regina. I glanced away because I didn't want to see how Regina responded to that. As soon as Susan skidded out the door, I removed Regina's hand from my arm. I took her hand in mine, steered her off to the side, and placed my hands on her shoulders. I looked her straight in the eyes. "Regina, we've been friends for over 20 years. There was a glazed look on her face. 20 good years, she said, practically swooning. "You were my first love," I admitted. She started blinking so hard I was surprised she didn't blink her eyelashes off. Then she sniffled a few times and gently rubbed her nose. For a second I thought she was going to shed a few tears. "I still care about you, but not the way you think." She wheezed and stared at me in slack-jawed amazement, and then her face looked as if it had suddenly turned to stone. You heard Susan and me talking?" "I heard enough. I hope I don't sound too blunt, but I can't let you go on thinking what you think." She gave me an incredulous look and removed my hands from her shoulders. Are you telling me you no longer want to be friends with me? We can always be friends, but that's all. Her lips quivered and she rubbed her nose again. Can I ask you something and will you be honest with me? I've always been honest with you. Is there another woman? Yes, there is. I'm very serious about her. Regina gasped and stumbled a few feet away. When did this happen? I've been serious about her for years. I see, she said in a very small voice. She looked so glum I felt sorry for her. If I had known, I wouldn't have wasted my time or yours. I held my hand up and cut her off as fast as I could. You've never wasted my time, and I'm sorry you feel as if you wasted yours. I couldn't go on letting you think that there was a chance for us to be something more than friends. Excuse me. She gazed at the floor for a few seconds. When she returned her attention to me, there was a broad smile on her face. Whoever she is a lucky woman, and I'm a lucky man. She walked ever so slowly up to me and gave me a quick peck on the cheek and patted my shoulders. I exhaled and pulled her into my arms. We embraced until an upcoming patron entered about 10 seconds later and mumbled, "Get a room." I released her and we laughed, and then she looked at peace, which made me feel better about bursting the bubble she lived in too long. Merry Christmas, Richard. Merry Christmas to you too, Regina. Without saying another word, she whirled around and rushed out of the building, like it was caving in. By the time I got outside, less than a minute later, she had already made it halfway down the block. 5 minutes past 2 p.m., I glanced up from my desk and saw Pam standing in my doorway. She walked in and stood by the side of my desk with a blank expression on her face. How was lunch, Richard? It could have been better. I was supposed to go with Phil, but Sam got hysterical when his computer conked out and I was the only tech around. When I finished with him and made it to the lobby, she had already left. So I went off on my own. I bumped into Regina and one of her co-workers and they invited me to join them. Anyway, I had left Felicia a voicemail before I left the building. I hope she's not too disappointed. Psst. Sam rolled her eyes and waved her hands. It will take a lot to disappoint my girl. I just left her office and she's doing fine. I'll give her a call in a few minutes and apologize for standing her up. You didn't stand Phil up. Things happen. Pam paused and gave me a guarded look. By the way, did you know she's thinking about looking for a job in Atlanta? My breath caught in my throat. I narrowed my eyes and gulped at Pam. Then the words shot out of my mouth like bullets. What are you talking about? I didn't even know she was talking about leaving the company, let alone going to work in Atlanta. She told you that? Uh-huh. Poor thing. Sam sighed and shook her head. She's getting so bored with the way things are. I didn't know Felicia felt that way. Who wouldn't? No children, no husband, no pets to keep her company. Her parents might be moving to Atlanta when they get back, so there'd be nothing to keep her here. She's so good at her job and so personable, other companies would hire her on the spot. And the way she was talking, it won't be long before she makes her move. Well, whatever she decides to do, I wish her well. Me too. Pam leaned forward and glared at me. Have you given any thought to what I told you? I knew what she was talking about, but I asked anyway. What do you mean? She loves you, Richard. And I know it's none of my business, but don't you have feelings for her? And I'm not talking about as just a friend. Pam, that's something I don't want to discuss at this time. She threw up her hands. Okay, I can tell when I'm overstepping my bounds. I can see it makes you uncomfortable, so that's not it, Pam. It's just that, well, I need a little more time to digest what you told me. I'll see you on the bus this evening. I was glad Pam left when she did. The only person I wanted to discuss what she told me was Felicia herself. If what Pam told me was true, and I had no reason not to believe her, either Felicia or I had to make a move eventually. I had a feeling I'd be the one to do it. I stared at my monitor for a few moments. Then I picked up the phone, but I didn't dial Felicia's number. I decided to go to her office. When I got there, she was busy talking to her clerks on the cubicle they shared. When she looked up and saw me, she held up her hand and pointed toward her office. I slunk in and sat down. She joined me about a minute later. "What's up, Richard?" She sat down at her desk and gave me an expressionless look. "I apologize for missing lunch. I got your message. You said something came up." She sounded so detached it was airy. "How about having lunch tomorrow?" "I won't be available. I'm going to take off the rest of the week. We can do it one day each week, but it's not really necessary. I can wrap up the Christmas party plans by myself." "I see. Well, can we get together for lunch anyway? I'd really like to make it up to you." "Richard, you don't need to make up anything to me. But can I still take you to lunch next week?" She took her time responding. "Let's wait until next week gets here. If you still want to take me, ask me then." "Okay, I'll see you on the bus this evening. If I get on before you, I'll make sure and save the seat right beside me like I always do. I'm leaving early today, so I won't be on the bus." "I see. Well, I hope you enjoy your weekend. I'll check with you next week." "Sure. Thanks for coming by, Richard." She turned around to face her computer and started pecking away. That was my cue to leave. Like, comment, and subscribe on this video. Bye-bye.